That one's live.
Ian Trottier here for Discussions of Truth. We are streaming live, Pure Social Media, and also Citizen Media News. I have an incredibly important guest with me this afternoon. We are at Doral, the Trump National Golf Course for AmpFest. And folks, on the front line are American patriots, such as the gentleman here to my right. Sheriff Lamb, please introduce yourself for listeners and viewers.
Thank you. I appreciate the very generous introduction of incredibly important. I don't know if I'm incredibly important, but I do love America. I'm a patriot. I'm the sheriff of Pinal County, Arizona, which is between Phoenix and Tucson. My county is about 5,400 square miles, 600 employees. We're about the size of the state of Connecticut. Though we are not on the border, we are about 50 to 60 miles off the border. We have a Native American reservation on the south end of our county, which actually extends into Mexico. It's an interesting dynamic, which allows them to come into this country. So we have the cartel pushing human cargo and drugs into our country.
Through this
and
reservation.
Our communities through that reservation, right into my county where they come first. So yeah, it's something we deal with every day, and we're on the front lines. We're fighting to not only keep it from our communities, but from communities across America. So.
Fantastic. So, Sheriff, you've got an interesting dynamic that I've not been exposed to, where you've got a Native American parcel of land, a reservation that is transcending a international divide of Mexico and New Mexico. Have you built any type of relationship or camaraderie with the people that are controlling this reservation, whereas you're able to work in that reservation, or they're working for you and keeping eyes out? What type of relationship do you have with the natives there?
We have a great relationship with the tribe. We have a great relationship with the tribal police. This is a big reservation that is sparsely habitated. And then you also have the cartel, who understands exactly what their resources are and how to overwhelm them as well. And so they're not really equipped to really do anything. And furthermore, they don't really have the ability to enforce immigration law. That's a federal thing. And so we work hand in hand with Border Patrol, our federal partners in that area. We do a lot of aviation. I've got planes. I've got a plane. I've got 3 helicopters. So we do a lot of aviation work with Border Patrol. So yes, we have a good relationship. They're just as frustrated as we are. And then you also have the cartel that intermixes. They'll marry into the tribe. They'll hook up with people from the tribe, which gives them the ability to bring people and drugs into this country. And they have the help of the people that actually live there and know the land very well.
What's the name of the native tribe there that listeners should be identifying?
Tohono O'odham Indian Reservation. Great people. You know, and I'm one that I honor the sovereignty of that tribal nation. I think it's, I'm always working hard to protect that for them as well. It is what it is. You know, we have to be able to understand where our weak points are. And that is one of the areas where these people will traffic humans and drugs into our country.
Sheriff Lamb, what is the name of the cartel? Are there multiple cartels that you're identifying here? Who are the players, the suspect players here from Mexico?
That's a great question. I mean, it depends on where you're at. You know, you've got the Zetas, you've got Nuevo Jalisco, Nueva Generación, which is Texas typically. What we typically deal with is the Sinaloa cartel. The Sinaloa cartel you might recognize more for El Chapo. But what's happening now is that's fracturing. You're getting more of these young cartel members that are coming out trying to flex their muscle. So that cartel is fracturing more and more, which is creating smaller cartels and more
power grabs.
Cartels, power grabs. But typically what we're dealing with is the Sinaloa cartel.
The Sinaloa cartel. I'm very familiar with that, and many viewers perhaps and listeners could be as well. What are they mainly trafficking? You've mentioned already what they're trafficking. What is their main focus of trafficking? What are they infiltrating into the United States?
Look, man, if they could make money off of dandelions, they would traffic dandelions in here. But what they unfortunately traffic in here are human beings and drugs.
Sex trafficking?
Sex trafficking.
Organ harvesting?
A little bit of everything. And look, if it makes money, they'll do it. The cartel is making as much money off of bodies right now as they are off of drugs. When I say bodies, I mean like bringing somebody to this country illegally. They typically charge about $5,000 to $6,000 to bring somebody here illegally. We've heard that it could be up to $50,000 for a Chinese national or somebody from a terrorist country. So this is something that all Americans should be very aware of. And now you're talking about the drugs that are coming in. It used to be a marijuana corridor, used to be, a lot more heroin. You still have the heroin, but what's dangerous right now is they're bringing in the synthetics. These are drugs that they can produce 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and that's your methamphetamines and your fentanyl.
Okay, so you are a sheriff in Arizona. Arizona at the moment is a hotbed for investigation in the 2020 election. Sheriff Lamb, what are some comments in regards to being in Arizona, controlling a county that is on the front line? We've got a totally open border here with the president that seems to have no problem with allowing illegal immigrants into the country. That's from my view. I've never spoken to Joe Biden. Tackle those two subjects for a moment, Sheriff, in regards to the open border policy right now, which is totally contradicts what Trump wanted to do in regards to building a wall. We know that. And then your view of being an Arizona resident, what's happening in regards to election fraud in your state?
Two very different questions. First of all, their policies suck. They're not working. It's a disaster. It's creating chaos, not only at the border, but it's creating chaos in this country. It's creating chaos in our communities, and I think it's by design. Initially I would have hoped that this was just ignorance or incompetence. The more I see it, the more I view it every day, the more they refuse to acknowledge it, even though you show them hard facts. You have to start to say, are they doing this on purpose? Are they creating chaos for us in law enforcement on purpose? I think when you talk about rebuilding America, Build Back Better, or reinventing America, that takes destroying it first so that you can reinvent it or build it back better. And when you talk about that, what is the way you have to do it? I talked about it in my speech today. You have to undermine the rule of law. And the way you undermine the rule of law is you create chaos throughout the country for us in law enforcement. And open borders is one of those policies. President Trump's policies were effective. They were working. We were reducing the amount of people coming into this country illegally, the criminals coming into this country illegally. We saw less drugs being brought into this country illegally. So it had a great impact. That's the first part. Now we talk elections. I get this question a lot. People say, well, what do you think about the audit? Here's what I think. I think that there is half of the American people that don't trust the voting process. We owe it to the people of Arizona. We owe it to the people of America to go through that process to restore your faith in the voting process. And then audit is the way to do that. In a perfect world, the audit will show, the results of the audit will show exactly what the results of the election were. But I think all of us have our personal opinions as to whether or not that's going to happen. But an audit does need to be done, and I hope that other states follow suit. I know it's a political hot button, but the people on the left 2 years ago and 4 years ago wanted this as much as the people on the right do now. What that means is, as Americans, we owe it to the voter, because the left wanted it, the right wants it. We owe it to the voter to ensure that they believe in the voting process. And I think that's the value of the audit.
I've had an opportunity, Sheriff Lamb, to speak to Sheriff Clark, who's here at this event, and at other events I've spoken to Sheriff Matt. And these are constitutional patriots, Americans that love this country, who simply want to defend their Bill of Rights and their Constitution, and they're doing it on a county level. With that said, Sheriff Lamb, what is happening? You're talking about creating a chaotic atmosphere. Are you saying that the current president is aware that he's creating a chaotic atmosphere and that's his intention? What are you saying here?
I can't say that he's aware because I don't know. I haven't talked to him. All I can say is what I see. So it's either incompetence or ignorance to what's happening,
right, or
it's complicity to these poor policies and allowing this chaos to ensue. That's the two options you're left with. Based on what I've seen, I believe the latter. I believe that they're okay with destroying, undermining the rule of law, causing issues for us. It's just what I see.
It kind of seems like there is indeed a hand above the current president controlling his actions. Have you ever considered and thought that, wait a second, here's Arizona, which used to be part of Mexico. They left the Mexican Union for corruption in the Mexican Union. That former country, because it was its own sovereign country, is called Arizona. It was a republic. You're right next to another former republic the Lone Star State, Texas. These people on the front line down here on the border, it's not an issue of racism. It's not an issue of Mexico. It's an issue of obeying laws.
That's right. We are a country of laws. You have to obey the law. Okay, we have a process for coming into this country legally. We're asking the people to follow that process. In the meantime, we're left to deal with the consequences of allowing the cartel to traffic people in here, the abuse that those people suffered trying to come to this country illegally. We're also dealing in our communities with the impact of these drugs, these synthetic drugs like fentanyl that are killing our children, our family members. And that is an issue for me. That is my job as a sheriff, is to ensure that my community is protected from these types of things. And so we've got to do, that's why sheriffs are standing up together across this country. We started Protect America Now. Hopefully you'll check it out, protectamericanow.com. Sheriffs standing up for the rule of law, standing up against bad policies like what we're seeing on the border, and standing up for the Constitution and the people's constitutional rights. I did an interview and then Vice News, I think it was. I don't know if you ever even heard of it.
I heard of this.
So Vice was like, hey, we got a renegade sheriff out here. He's a constitutional guy, and he's this and that. And I was reading through this article, and I'm like, it's actually not a bad article. They were trying to bash me, but in the end, they were saying that I was following the Constitution. I was a constitutional sheriff.
Okay.
And my first response was, did all of us elected officials not take the same oath to protect and defend the Constitution? Should every elected official not be a constitutional elected official? That is the oath we swore. Not an oath to increase funding, not an oath to open border policies, not an oath to promote politics, whether it's Republican or Democrat. We swore an oath to protect the Constitution and the people of our community. I take it serious, so they tried to bash me for something that I took as a compliment. You can call me all day long a constitutional sheriff, because that's exactly what I swore an oath to when I got elected as sheriff.
Thank you, Sheriff Lamb. Now let's get real quick. I want you to answer this question. I was fortunate enough in 2015 to listen to President, not yet President Trump, say if he ran for president, he would do so as an independent and self-financed. I only heard him right here in this ballroom in 2015. When he got into presidency, he started talking about fake news and deep state. Dude, we had 8 years of Obama. I never heard Obama mention either one of those phrases. When Trump got into office, that really kind of startled a lot of Americans. What's going on? What is the deep state in your view? What is this? From a constitutional sheriff.
I don't know that that's a question we can answer right here.
Yeah.
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. What I think where we're at in this country, in this world, is you have people that want to control your life. I think it's more bigger than just an America thing. We are very myopic as Americans. We think only in America. We only think of ourselves, and it's a problem with our culture. We have to start looking at the impact this is having on a global level, and where there are people globally that want to control the world. They want to control your daily life. They think they can do it better. They can control all the money, and America stands in the way of it. America is the last bastion of freedom. And so you're feeling the effects of the strength of the global movement, that push. And I would break it down to even something more simple, because I'm a Christian man. I believe that this is a battle between good and evil. And the only way to beat win this battle out is we've got to get a little bit more God back in us. I believe that the Constitution of the United States is a God-given document that has God's stamp of approval on it. And in the end, it will win the day. It will survive, but we need to restore those same founding principles that the founding fathers had. And it's not about race, it's not about culture, it's not about any of those things. This is about doing what's best for America and the American people.
You're a sheriff in a county in a very important state. All states are important. What makes your role as sheriff a little bit different from that of the governor in Arizona?
Sheriff's a lot cooler.
You're a cool guy.
I get to carry a gun every day and a badge.
The governor can't?
It's very different. So sheriff is probably the most important position, in my opinion, for saving America. Sheriffs are your last bastion of freedom. We're the ones that are going to be able. people always say to me, they say, well, Sheriff, I can't believe you talk like that. You're government. And I say, I'm not government. I'm your county sheriff. I was elected to protect you from the bad guys and from government overreach. So my job is to ensure that the government does not overstep their bounds. And so I feel like...
That's what you tell people.
Yeah. So like their governor, he can only get done what the legislature and the Senate is willing to do.
Okay.
I don't have that. I don't legislate. My job is to protect the community. I don't have a boss. I don't have people that tell me what I can and can't do. That's the people. And the people tell me that. I listen, I go spend time in those communities, and I do that. So I think that the Office of Sheriff, I've done the best I can to promote it. I started something called the American Sheriff Network, and that's live PD and cops. Those things were taken off the air. They took our voice away. That deep state, that
machine,
mainstream media, they started dictating the narrative of what they wanted people to think of police. And so what we tried to do is bring that back, and hopefully your viewers will check it out. AmericanSheriff.com. It's the American Sheriff Network. It is a subscription site because we don't want them to cancel us, and we don't want you'd have to pay for ads. And we're promoting sheriffs from across this country. So AmericanSheriff.com. You can also get my book there. There's a shameless plug right there. American Sheriff. Traditional values in a modern world. I think we've gotten away from traditional values. I think we've gotten away from God. I think we've gotten away from the strength of America. And we just got to get back to it. We'll be fine, but we just got to refocus ourselves.
Who are some of the sheriffs as we wind down here? Who are some of the sheriffs across the country as you tackle your county in Arizona? Who are some of the sheriffs that you'd like? I've mentioned a couple. Are there any other sheriffs that you'd like listeners to pay attention to as they kind of understand the role of the sheriff and how the sheriff can protect them?
Oh man, there's a lot. I can tell you some of the sheriffs that are involved with ProtectAmericaNow.com, and that's Sheriff Wayne Ivey from Brevard County, Florida. We got Scott Jenkins from up in Virginia. We've got Tony Childress out in Illinois. We've got Sheriff Jim Arnoff from Greene County, Missouri. We've got Mike Lewis from Salisbury, Maryland, which is Wycomico County, Maryland. I know I'm leaving somebody out, but we've got a lot of good sheriffs. I know you're on a time crunch. There are a ton of good sheriffs that are fighting every day for the people. They understand the role of the sheriff and the importance of it. So people can take courage and faith in knowing that there's good men out there filling that gap right now.
Fantastic. And ladies and gentlemen, Sheriff Lamb, Arizona, just some final words, some final thoughts for viewers to walk away with. What would you like as America? America seems like it is at a divide, perhaps a tipping point of some sort. We have a chaotic atmosphere being created. You've said it here, or open borders. But you're bringing a sense of comfort.
Yeah,
I think. And so, what would you like listeners to walk away with?
When you become a cop, you have to learn how to control chaotic situations. We go into call after call after call every day where chaos is there. And you got that old cop smoking a cigarette in the corner that just doesn't seem to be phased. Well, it's because he's learned to control that chaos. And so my advice to Americans is don't get caught up in controlling an outcome that you cannot control. So surrender the outcome, because anxiety, depression, anger comes from trying to control an outcome that you can't control. You can control your attitude, your work output, maybe your household, maybe your job, if you own a company. Those are things you can control. And do that. Control those. I always share a quote from a book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. If you haven't read it, it's great. It's like 50 pages. But as soon as you read American Sheriff, Traditional Values in the Modern World, then you can read As a Man Thinketh. But it says, keep your hand firmly upon the helm of thought. In the bark of your soul reclines the commanding master. He does but sleep. Wake him. Self-control is strength. Right thought is mastery. Calmness is power. Say into your heart, peace be still. Don't get caught up in the chaos. Control what you can control. And trust that this process will work it out. If you're a Christian, you know how this story ends. And evil does not prevail. So it's just a matter of digging in, biting down on your mouthpiece, taking the shots, and getting in the fight. And that's really what it's about.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sheriff Lamb. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. God bless.